God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom, comrades in arms for the liberty of man. Shoulder to shoulder, but still could not redeem them in God's name, but no one could understand.
Welcome. This is the episode 83 of the Late Night Veterans Show. I'm your host for tonight. My name is Reginald Argue. This is registered and approved through the British Armed Forces. I also have the CEO, Darren Edmundson, joining us. And we have two amazing guests, Tim Riley as from before, and we have a new guest who's a U.S. veteran with a trial lawyer, still a trial lawyer. 3 years ago, he attempted suicide. We're going to talk about all that stuff. The topic tonight is mental health. It's going to be amazing. Really looking forward to hearing from everyone. Before we get the updates from Darren, I'd also like to take a moment to honor and remember our dear friend and fellow veteran who passed away sadly on July 8th, 2026. His name was Mark and last name was Bossy. He was a retired major from the Canadian military. Go ahead, Darren.
Okay, guys, so welcome to the Late Night Veterans Show. It's a pleasure to have you on, Bruce. And Tim, it's your second time on. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Guys, Tim has been on before, so you'll be looking forward to hear more from Tim. We had a lot of response and really good engagement on his last show. I just wanted to do a couple of announcements. This is for the British veterans. When something comes up on the screen here. So this is the HM Armed Forces Veterans card and give you a lot of discount. It's free. It's absolutely free. Go over to the government website and type in HM Armed Forces Veterans, and they will send you one of these out in the post. If anybody needs a hand in getting one of these, please contact me. It's absolutely free, no hidden costs at all. Just let me know. Let's get that off the screen. Also, we have a membership card to help support the running costs of the show, and it's a membership pack is only £10. If anybody's interested in one of them, give me a shout. We'll send you a membership card out. We also have merchandise, guys. If you want to come over to our website, www.thelatenight-veteranshow.org. We've got merchandise on there, and also we've got plans to set up a PTSD camp in Wales and Pembrokeshire, which is going to be free for veterans and the community, more focused on the veterans. We do have a donation link, so if anybody's interested in supporting us, please let us know. We've got a total of around £1,600 raised so far in the last couple of months. I haven't really been pushing it, but we've got a couple of events coming up in March, as in the area March, which is near the Midlands way. And we've got an event there, and we're hoping to raise around 3 to 5 grand on that event. So we're looking at 20 grand to get some land. But yeah, welcome to the show, guys. Pass you back over to Reds. That's the updates for now.
Thank you, Darren. Yeah, our guest tonight is Bruce Simpson. He's, like I was saying, a U.S. military veteran from the Vietnam era, and he's a trial lawyer. 3 years ago, he attempted suicide. He's going to share his amazing story tonight. He's 76 years old, still practicing law, and he's from Kentucky. The first thing I hear when I hear Kentucky Headhunters, the band. Thank you so much for coming on, Bruce.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Before we came on, I was talking to you briefly about there's this organization down there called Heroes on the Water, and there is a Kentucky chapter started. A gentleman who has a 20-year U.S. veteran, he ended up with COVID. His lungs are really damaged very a lot. And what's happening is that they had to make this device that gives him air all the time. But he got back on the kayaks. He's fishing again. Amazing story. Looking forward to seeing that. I'm going to send that link to you there, Bruce. That way you can coordinate with them. You never know. There's events coming up. It's all about veterans reaching out to other veterans. That's what it's all about.
So on that note, just on that topic, this morning, I went on a kayak event with some local people and some veterans.
Wow.
And I seen that video you're talking about, Reg.
Yeah.
And that started in my community, and we're building
Oh,
on
wow.
things like that, rucksack marches. Wintertime we'll do snowshoeing. Yeah, that was
Keep
just
the
this
updates
morning.
coming.
I'll send you some pictures later.
Well, it's, we're going to share this. Darren, if you want to post this stuff on the Late Night Veteran Show website for people to come see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bruce, you grew up in the 50s and 60s. Can you share a little bit about, how your parents were treating you? I know you wrote about it. If you could share that and how it affected you later on in life, sort of thing.
Sure. I've learned a lot in the last 3 years since my suicide attempt. And one of the most important things I've learned is the importance of proper parenting. I know that sounds kind of basic, but as a lawyer, laws get enacted when it's been demonstrated that some kind of activity causes harm to other human beings. You got to be licensed to be a lawyer, a doctor. You got to be licensed to drive a car. You got to prove you're capable of driving a car, and so many other things that you have to be trained for. And yet the most important role that you'll have in life is being a parent, for which there's no training required. There's no merit exam. There's no licensure. You just do it ever how you wanted to do it. For a long time, I resented how I was raised, but then I realized my parents never had any training either. No one ever told them how to raise a child. You just do it however you want to do it. And then oftentimes the child copies what they did, which unfortunately is what I did. But my dad wanted me to be a professional athlete. I practiced 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. But you can only get to the point where you get good to a point you don't get any better. It doesn't matter how hard you try. And I would get rewarded when I did well, when I was successful, but then I was blistered and criticized, when I didn't perform well. So the love, to the extent there was any in my family, and my mother and dad fought all the time, total chaos. But to the extent I would receive validation or affirmation from my parents, it would be when I performed well in athletics. And so it was conditional love. And what I learned from that was performance is everything in the eyes of other people, that you had to, your life, in order to be worthy, you had to be appreciated by other people. Whatever was necessary to be appreciated in your line of work, or anything for that matter. It didn't come internally, your self-worth. It came only from being receiving approval, being liked, if you will, but being validated by other people. I grew up that way, and that's carried with me really almost all my life. And for the most part, you never get good enough. My father always said, I think his philosophy was, if you're told you're never good enough, you'll always keep trying to get better than what you are. Which sounds good in theory, but when it comes to being browbeat at the age of 10 every day, that you're not good enough, you're not meeting his expectations, it sends you into a tailspin, and it did me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. When I grew up, I went through the physical and the mental abuse from my late father. In the end, I did forgive him. We did work it out. And I think in a lot of ways, what I went through has helped me tremendously when it comes to interviewing people who have gone through stuff like that, saying they're not alone. And that's what the most important thing, again, about the program is. We're not alone. Veterans, supporters, family members, first responders, we are all family.
I agree with that.
Back in high school, you were socially promoted. and you had a grade point average of 1.4. And I noticed that you joined the military, and then you ended up, after you joined the military and you left, then you went to school to become a lawyer, and your grade point came off a lot higher. What was it that basically changed from high school, going into the military, and then basically after the military to start doing your lawyer teaching?
Well, the military actually turned my motivation around quite a bit. I actually didn't graduate from high school. I was socially promoted. My teacher found out that I'd already flunked so many courses that I had to pass her class to graduate. And she pulled me aside the last day of class, my senior year of high school, and told me what she was going to do, that she knew I wanted to graduate with my friends, and she was going to pass me even though I only had a 46 average. But she was going to call my parents and tell them what she was doing, and she wanted me to go to summer school. I didn't. Honestly, by the time I got to be 13, I checked out of everything. My ambition was to get in trouble. The group that I identified with to be recognized were the people that got in trouble. And so I was very successful at getting in trouble and being stupid, because I never studied at all. And I didn't care. I just didn't care. So, but, the Vietnam War was going on when they promoted me out of high school illegally, which I didn't object to. But so then I went to the University of Kentucky in my hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. Back then, they had to accept anybody. It didn't matter how poor student you were. If you were a resident of the state of Kentucky, it was a state university, and they had to accept you. They encouraged me to go to a junior college, but I needed to get in college to avoid the draft. But I got into college, and then got involved with an organization called the Students for a Democratic Society, which was anti-war. And I did a real good job of protesting the war for a year and a half, but I never went to class. So I flunked out of college. And then I got drafted. They took me. And I was in there 2 years in the infantry. But when I got out of the Army, I got a wake-up call. I mean, the Army instituted a lot of things for me. Discipline, focus, determination to succeed in terms of at least stop goofing around and acting stupid like I'd been doing for many, many years up to that point. And I was a highly motivated individual once I got out of the Army. Yeah. I was determined to study, but it was really hard because I had no background. I had no English. Honest, when I say I didn't study, I didn't crack a book because I wanted bad grades. The group that I hung around with, they got bad grades, and everybody looked up to them because we were bad boys. And I got my acceptance by being a bad boy. But then I started applying myself, worked really hard in college, finished up my bachelor's degree, went on and got a master's degree, worked for about 4 years, and then started law school when I was 30, graduated when I was 33, and I've been practicing law now 43 years.
Wow. I'm going to get you to take us to that night when you're in the cemetery. And then after we're done talking about that, then I'm going to hand the reins over to Darren. And Tim, if you want to jump in and ask Bruce any questions at any time, please feel free. So you're in the cemetery. You've got a .357 in your hand. You point it at the ground. You pulled the trigger to make sure it worked. What happened after that?
Well, just a little bit before that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I had started in my early 40s. I started getting compliments for other lawyers in the state of Kentucky, and they would see my trials, and they would get a fair amount of publicity, and they would compliment me. I never believed the compliments, but for the first time in my life, in my early 40s, I finally felt worthy as a human being. I was getting compliments for, at least in their eyes, being a quote unquote good lawyer. I suffer from what's called imposter syndrome. So I didn't believe it. I didn't think I was worthy enough to get a compliment like that. But it was nice to hear. And I would then read about lawyers after that would get into trouble for one reason or another, and we're going to get disbarred or going to prison for doing something illegal. And I would think to myself, man, if that was me, I'd see that person. Now that I'm finally feeling validated and worthy in the eyes of somebody, I'd kill myself. Mm-hmm. And really, for the next 30 years, starting in my early 40s up until 2023, when I attempted suicide, I was entirely comfortable with self-inflicted death. If I ever perceived a legitimate threat to the reputation that other people told me I had as a good lawyer, that was it. That was my sole reason for existing. And if I didn't have that, life was over. And in May of 22, I had my first major health problem. I fell and sustained a brain bleed. I was in intensive care for a couple of weeks, in and out of the hospital several times in 2022. One of the effects of a brain bleed is a short-term memory impairment. I didn't know that at the time, but so in January, and I love practicing law, and I went back to work and probably shouldn't have, but I knew I was operating a little bit slower and I was on medication and all that stuff, but I was functioning fine, had trials and did well. But in January of 2023, I opened the mail from, was sent to me by the Kentucky Court of Appeals in a case that I had won at trial. It was a high profile case, one of the biggest cases I've ever won. It had a lot of publicity, and my clients were ecstatic. I was ecstatic. They were great people. I opened the mail, and it was a decision in this case, and it was to be published in the law books. Only about 10% of all of the appellate cases in the United States get published in the law books for eternity, for all the lawyers to read from now until the end of time as precedent. And I thought, that was the first thing I saw right at the top of the page. And I'm like, well, it's good. That's good. And then it wasn't too long that I saw scan down the middle of the page, and it said order reversing, which meant the judge of the Court of Appeals had reversed my trial court victory. And I started reading really hurriedly through the opinion. And in the body of the opinion, the court observed that the respondent's counsel, which was me, because I'd won at trial level, had not filed a brief in the case, which was fatal, and it caused me to lose the case. I'd forgotten to file the brief. It would happen when I had suffered from the consequences of that brain bleed. I checked. I thought, I'm sure I filed a brief. Of course I did. I won this case, but I hadn't filed it. And it was almost instantaneous that once I read that decision, there was nothing I could do to fix the case. I couldn't correct it. It was the first time in 40 years as a lawyer I'd hurt a client. And it was a huge case, one of the biggest I've ever had. And my suicide plan kicked in. It was like autopilot. And I was up all night. Next morning, my wife left early for work. And she leaned down to kiss me goodbye. I knew that would be the last time I kissed her. I love my wife, but I believe that I had not only hurt a client, but I destroyed my reputation. I would no longer be thought as a good lawyer. I'd be thought of as a malpractice lawyer. My family didn't deserve that taint of my malpractice. I thought they would be embarrassed. They wouldn't appreciate me. And I've just concluded without question, it was better off for everyone if I was dead. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that it was better. And so I hadn't fired a pistol since I was in the Army, a .45. I went and bought the most powerful handgun they had in the gun shop in Lexington, .357 Magnum. I bought hollow point bullets. They explode on impact. I wanted to be successful. I did not want to survive. I had read about people that tried to kill themselves by handgun and survived. I didn't want to survive and be in a nursing home and have people come to see me. I was going to be successful. I get focused on anything, a trial or anything that I set my mind to, which I learned a lot in the Army. You get locked on a mission.
Yeah.
I'm locked on a mission, and that stuck with me. And I wasn't going to be deterred. And I went home and wrote a note to my family. I got all my estate planning documents out on the kitchen counter. I wasn't going to kill myself in my home. I didn't want the mess, and I didn't want it to hurt the value of the house when she decided to sell it. So I took an Uber to a small town south of Lexington, about 12 miles south of Lexington,
Wow.
where I grew up, Nicholasville, Kentucky. And I wanted to go to a public cemetery. I had all this planned out, where nobody would be around. It was about 7 o'clock at night. And it was January 25th, so it was cold. And I got out of the Uber, walked around the cemetery for a little bit with a gun in my hand. And I did kind of pause for a moment, thought, really, Simpson, is this how you want to be remembered? I mean, is this how you want to die? Suicide, really? And then I'm like, all right, let's get back on track. So the brand new gun, it should fire, but I wanted to test fire it, make sure it worked. So it was a revolver. You can see the bullets on the outside of the barrel. I pulled the hammer back. I saw the bullet rotate into the firing chamber. I pointed to the ground, pulled the trigger. It was loud. I mean, it was a whole lot louder than a 45 that I remember in the Army. And it kicked my hand way back over my shoulder. Dogs started barking all around the cemetery. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't want anybody to come out and watch what was about to happen. But so I quickly called 911 and told the police dispatcher there was a body in Maple Grove Cemetery, which is where I was. And she said, asked me where it was, and I told her, and she said, will you be there to assist the officer? And I said, yes, I'll be here. She said, the officer's en route. So I knew my time, let's get this done. Again, I wasn't crying. I was, honestly, it was my exit strategy. I'd been suffering, I didn't know it at the time, from serious clinical depression for most of my life. There's such a stigma about mental illness and mental health treatment. Plus, being a man, I was taught, suck it up, don't whine, don't complain. Be a man, all that macho BS. And I wouldn't think about going and telling somebody. I never told anybody I was suicidal, even though I was suicidal for 30 years. I didn't tell them how I was feeling inside, how inadequate I was feeling. I put on a big act, which a lot of men do. And yeah. So anyway, I took the removed the empty casing out of the revolver. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I was only going to pull that trigger once. And I put it in my pocket, pull the hammer back again on the weapon. I saw the bullet go into the chamber just like it did during the test firing. Put the gun to the side of my head and pull the trigger. And the hammer hit the bullet, and the bullet didn't fire.
Wow.
And I'm like dumbfounded, like, what the hell is this? I'm like, I wasn't prepared for that. I had no contingencies. Usually as a trial lawyer, I've got contingencies on contingencies on contingencies. If something happens in the trial, if that happens, I'm ready for this. If this happens, I'm ready for that. 40 years, you just build that into how you function as a human being. But I was supposed to be dead, and I wanted to be dead. I didn't want to be alive. And I don't know why I'm alive. And then I see the cop coming through the gate in the cemetery toward me. He was about 75 yards away. And I was getting ready to pull the trigger again, but I kind of paused because I didn't want anybody to watch what was going to happen. Yeah. I put the gun in my pocket, hope he didn't see it. He started driving up the driveway where I was. And I knew from trying cases that I needed to control the conversation. I walked over to his car and he rolled the window down. I had no lies to make up. And I kind of fumbled around. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm sorry. It was a garbage bag. It wasn't a body. And I'm sorry you had to come out. And he looked at me, and I'm standing right in front of him, and I got a .357 in my pocket, loaded, minus one spent casing, one spent bullet. But I had a jacket on, so he couldn't see it because it was cold. It was 20 degrees, well below freezing. in Fahrenheit. And so he drove off, but he didn't leave the cemetery. I wanted to finish what I came to do,
Wow.
but I wasn't going to do it with him there. And it was
You
cold.
feel like you're the guardian angel for that night?
Honestly, at that point, it was so surreal. I didn't know what was happening.
Mm.
All I know is I wanted to finish what I came to do, but I wasn't going to do it. I didn't want to pull the gun out and have him come out of the car. And I want to do this quietly by myself. Leave me alone. It's my time. I've been planning this for 30 years.
Wow.
And it's time to take care of business. I mean, to me, it was just a business decision. That's how mentally unwell I was to be that comfortable with self-inflicted death. But that was me. As bizarre as that sounds, that was me. That's why I never told anybody. Why would I tell somebody that if I ever lost the reputation people told me that I'd kill myself? They would interfere with my exit strategy. So I never told anybody. I mean,
Wow.
I was seriously impaired mentally, but I masked it well. I camouflaged it well because you learn as a man. That's what you do, right? So I kept it all to myself. Never told a single soul, not one person, not even my closest friend that I ever disclosed what's going on inside of my head. So it was cold, and I looked across the street. There was a gas station. I started walking toward it, and then thought occurred to me to call a friend of mine who was a lawyer in Nicholasville, who's
Apparently you didn't talk to him for a long period of time too. I read the article where you're talking about that.
I had not talked to him in 5 years. We'd had cases on the other side of each other, and it got really hot and heated, like fights do. I mean, it was lawyer fight, not fist fight. But I hadn't talked to him. He hadn't called me. I hadn't called him. No emails. But
Wow.
Thought occurred to me, call Bruce Smith. So I called him. I said, hey, can you talk? I didn't tell him why I was down there. I didn't tell him I had a gun, that I was going to kill myself. I just said, can you talk? And he said, yeah, what are you doing? And of course, I had no lies to make up. I said, first thing that came into my brain was, well, Cindy's my wife, we had an argument. I took an Uber from Lexington, which is like 15 miles away, to cemetery to meditate. I mean, I'm a horrible liar to start with. That may have been the worst. Who would take an Uber to drive to a cemetery in the middle of January at 7:00 at night to meditate over an argument you had with your wife? But that was the first thing that came out of that's what I told him. That's what came out of my mouth. And he said, well, come on, I'll come and get you. So he did. We went to a bar. While I was in the cemetery, my phone was blowing up with calls. My wife was calling me. My daughters were calling me.
They found the note then.
They found my note. One of my law partners at the time was calling me. But I turned my phone off. There was nothing anybody could say that could talk me out of what when you hear about the point of no return, I'd reached it. There was nobody pulling me back. I was locked on. I was not going to be stopped under any and no one was going to stop me from finishing my mission.
Especially when I was reading the article, and then like you come over the hill, you're with your friend, and there's police cars everywhere around your house.
Yeah. So my friend took me home. We didn't discuss, he took me home, come over the hill to my house, and there's 5 or 6 cop cars in front of my house. I'm like, I didn't expect that. I had no idea the cops would be there. And my friend looked at me, goes, what the hell is going on? And I don't know. I guess Cindy's upset about something. Upset? Yeah. What'd you do? I said, do you know me? I would never touch her. I never touch her. I said, just don't stop. He said, well, I'm not going to stop. I've been drinking. So we just kind of slowly drove up past it. I said, just drive up the road to Harrodsburg Road. Yeah. About 1.5 miles away. And he let me out. Wow. And he grabbed my arm. He says, now you're going to walk back, right? And I said, yeah, I'm walking back.
Wow.
But I wasn't walking back.
Yeah.
I was going to finish it. And I walked down into a large stormwater detention basin out of sight, pulled the gun out for the last time. My first thought was, wait a minute, you just spent 2 hours with Bruce, healed your friendship. He drove you all the way back to Lexington. You tell him you're going to walk back.
Wow.
And then, you kill yourself. How's that going to make him feel? So I paused for a little bit longer,
Wow.
but then I got locked back on. I'm like, I know he'll get over it. All right. I cannot endure the humiliation and the embarrassment. I can't fix it, my clients. I got insurance that'll cover my malpractice. I got my state will be, my wife will be fine. It's just time to go. Let's just get this done. So
I'm very thankful that you didn't succeed, because your voice is so important within the veteran community, even for younger veterans. There's so many. I know in the United States, there's 22 veterans a day that are committing suicide. Here in Canada, they're not being reported, but one veteran runs his own different podcast, and he's raising the issue that apparently there's like one veteran a month or a week here in Canada. And even one is one too many, and 22, that's 22 too many. We need to get stories out there and everything. It's like, but
no, you're
wow,
right.
Please continue on, Bruce.
Somebody dies in the United States every 11 minutes by suicide, and somebody attempts suicide every 23 seconds. And it's a major public health epidemic that hides in plain sight because nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of underreporting of it because families are embarrassed. They don't want to put it in the paper that their loved one died by suicide. So it's hush hush. We stick our head in the sand. In the meantime, and men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. And veterans are higher. And so it's all like, well, if we ignore it, maybe it won't affect us until it does. And which, it did me. Anyway, so I pull the gun, I got the gun in my hand. Now, the part I'm getting ready to tell you, I didn't tell anybody for a year. I did disclose my story about 9 months after my suicide because I realized that I had to talk about it because people weren't talking about it. And in large part, I talked about it is because what I'm about to tell you. So now let me say this. If someone would have told me what I'm about to tell you guys prior to January 25th of 2023, if someone would have told me this, I would have probably clicked off the little X at the top and turned off the interview because I would not believe it. I had a serious doubt prior to that date about the existence of God, honestly. I kind of sort of did, but I mean, I got browbeat by judges for 40 years up to that point. If I couldn't prove something in court pursuant to the rule of evidence for a jury to make a finding of fact or a judge, then it wasn't real. Well, I could never prove the existence of God in court. I couldn't even authenticate the Bible because of all the hearsay and all that. So I would find reasons not to believe. I believed in cold, hard facts. And if I couldn't prove it in court, it didn't exist. That was me. So what I'm about to tell you is my truth. I have no reason to make any of this stuff up. But I finally, after a year, said, look, just tell the rest of it. I don't have any agenda. I don't charge for any public speaking engagements. I've got my own 24-hour toll-free or cell phone that's open for veterans, non-veterans that are suicidal. I just tell the truth and I talk, and I listen. So when I pulled that gun out for the final time, I had this all-encompassing sense of calm and peace that washed over me like nothing I'd ever experienced before. Wow. And inside of my head, I hear this comforting message say, Bruce, you're not going to kill yourself. You're going to be okay. And you're going to be equipped to handle the aftermath of your suicide attempt. You're going to be fine.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is this? I mean, I'm like, this is like something I can't comprehend. Didn't imagine what is going on with me, but I was totally calm. I went over to the back of a shopping center dumpster and unloaded the rest of my weapon, the bullets. I started walking home. When I got to the edge of my street, I did peek to see if the cops were still there. I didn't want to be tackled in my front yard. Yeah. They were out I had police looking for me in 2 different counties in Kentucky.
Wow.
So I called my wife. I didn't want to go up and just knock on the door. And she was devastated to this day. She cannot hear this story. She can't hear me talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a suicide. Even a suicide attempt is devastating on your loved ones. I had no appreciation of that. If I did, I would have never done what I tempted to do. But I didn't realize until now how devastating suicide is on loved ones. They suffer for decades after someone dies by suicide. I've talked with too many. She called the police. They were there in 5 minutes with a paramedic unit, 2 cop cars, came in my house. I thought I'd talk my way out of it like I did in the cemetery. Guys, I'm fine. I didn't tell them I pulled the trigger. I didn't tell them what happened in the detention basin. I just said, guys, I'm fine. I'm over it. I mean, y'all can go. I'm sorry. And the lead officer said, well, look, you wrote a note. We got on your computer. We saw the gun shop. We called the gun shop. We got the weapon you bought. We know you bought hollow point bullets. We saw your Uber. They tracked me, and they were actually had pinged my phone when I was in the cemetery. But when I turned my phone off, they couldn't find me anymore. And they wanted to know where I'd been for the last 2.5 hours. And, I told them. But then they said, I need for you to stand up, put your arms against your living room wall. And of all the things that I never imagined happening was being put up against the wall by the police in my own house in front of 4 cops and my family, handcuffed and taken outside in front of my family and all the neighbors, put in the back of a police car and taken to the oldest state psychiatric hospital in the United States, Eastern State Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. But there I went.
Wow.
I was in there almost 4 days in an unlocked room. They checked on me every 15 minutes. They had to unlock the bathroom for me to get in the bathroom. They had to be in the shower when I took a shower. I met my first mental health professional at the age of 73. First time I had talked to anybody about any of this stuff. And they've started putting me on some medication. I got out of the hospital. The first thing I did was I went up and met with my clients that had malpracticed. Apologized to them for what I'd done. I gave them the statute of limitations in which they had to file suit against me for my malpractice. I then reported what I'd done to the Kentucky Bar Association that regulates lawyer conduct. And then I got fired by my law firm. I was 73 years old with a mountain of debt because one of my coping mechanisms from my depression was gambling. And I gambled away most of the money that I made in my life.
Wow.
And so I had to be working. But I am out of Eastern State Psychiatric Hospital after just trying to kill myself with no job at 73. But honestly, I will tell you, based on what I heard in that detention basin, I have never been afraid of my uncertain future going forward. Wow. And like I said, I held off telling the rest of it because I'd written about it and went public. It was in the front page of the local Lexington newspaper. But I thought if I tell the rest of it, nobody's going to believe it because, I had such prosperity preachers and people trying to smack people on the forehead and get out of. I mean, that just disgusts me to this day. I just that's just junk. All right, I got no respect for those people. They're just con men, and so I didn't want to be viewed that way, particularly when I wanted to be available for other people that were suicidal, veterans and non-veterans. I want to be credible. Look, guys, I've been there. All right, I know I pulled the trigger. I've wanted to kill myself for 30 years. I know what that's like. I know what depression is like. And I know what masking your mental illness as a man is like for more than almost all my life. Wow. I know that. I've been there. And so I want to be there and let's talk. I've talked with a lot of suicidal people. I've talked with people all over the United States in the last 3 years. So far, 12 foreign countries, England, Ireland, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Kenya, on and on.
But any of the veterans you're talking to, if they want to come on, share their story, contact Darren, Adam. There's also Jerry, or myself, or even my wife, Lisa. This is what this platform's for. Yeah. We don't want them to basically to carry out that last action, be successful. We want to talk to them. We don't want to go to their funeral.
I tell them, I put it on my my social media post on the LinkedIn platform, Facebook, and Twitter. I put my cell number out there. If you're in a crisis, call 988. I don't know what the number is in Europe. There's probably something similar where you can call 24 hours a day if you're suicidal. I said, call those people. I spot check them 3 times a month to make sure they're on their game, because I refer a lot of people to them. And I want to make sure when those people answer the phone, they're going to take care of the people that I refer.
Wow.
And so they've done a great job. 3 years. I check 3 times a month at random, all hours of the day and night. Because I know from being there that when you're at the point of no return, you got to get somebody talking.
Wow.
You have got to keep them talking, and you got to stay with them as long as it takes.
Yeah.
I tell folks, I'm not a therapist. I can't cure you of anything, but I've been where you are and I can talk. Let's just keep talking. Okay.
That's important.
That's one of the biggest things right there, when you can identify with somebody else and they know that brings down a lot of walls.
I agree 100%, because I mean, if you walked in somebody else's shoes, it's peer to peer, but you got to keep them talking, and you can't give up on them. And I follow up with text messages, phone calls, Zoom calls, meeting if we're close enough by, and nothing. This ain't about me. All right. I am no one special. Zero. I'm just alive by the grace of God. Honestly believe that. And I'm here just to be available to deter somebody from repeating the fatal mistake
that's the most important thing. That's why I wanted to bring you on because you have that story. And like I said, one dead veteran is one too many.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is this, I didn't believe mental health. I wouldn't go within 100 meters of a mental health facility for fear someone might recognize me, particularly in the waiting room. Someone might, see me and then go tell somebody I was in I made fun of mentally ill people. And it was a stigma, and I didn't want that stigma. I refused to accept I had a mental illness. So I didn't get treated. But I will tell you, mental health treatment works. It does. Medication works. Now, it took me about 8 months to get it adjusted. The initial dosage made me like a zombie, but, I'm functioning better now at 76, believe it or not. I've had 6 trials since my suicide.
Yeah.
And I'm functioning better now as a lawyer and a human being than I functioned at any time prior in my life.
Wow.
Anytime.
But Darren, I'm going to let you take over the reins now, and you're going to ask some questions. And Tim, if you want to jump in and ask questions, you got amazing stuff you talk about.
Can I share something quick first?
Tim, can you do a quick introduction? Good. Can you do a quick introduction of yourself again, and then ask the questions? Because I just wanted to sorry to jump in there, but they've just kicked me off Facebook until further notice. They've just banned me from Facebook completely, so nobody can get hold of me. I don't know why. Just had it popped up. I'm banned from Facebook. They've keeping the page, but they've kicked me off from Facebook until further investigation. I don't know why.
My name's Tim Riley. Okay, are you want to say any more, Darren?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go. I just wanted to let the guys know, if they can't see me on Facebook, the people jump over to YouTube or Facebook, the page, that they've banned me for some reason. I don't know why.
So I'm a Canadian veteran. I served for 8 years. I did a term in Somalia with the Canadian Airborne Regiment. And a lot of my life went downhill right after that. And I just came on the scene too, Bruce. And I'm finding my legs, my voice, and my resolve to share my journey. I suffer with mental illness, with suicidal thoughts, depression, incarceration, and I want to help other people avoid. I just feel like I want them to feel like they're not alone. And I can resonate with a lot of your story. And thank you for sharing, what you shared, going back to your childhood. And that's where I want to kind of start with mine, is I had a very dysfunctional, violent upbringing. And it changed me. And I didn't do well in school either. And Army cadets kind of saved me. And I church bit back then too. And it wasn't until I got in the Army that I found the structure that I really needed, that gave me that focus and that drive to be the best version of myself. But I still had a lot of issues where I didn't know how to be the man I wanted to be. I didn't have to be the husband or father I wanted to be because it wasn't modeled to me. So I made some horrible blunders in my first marriage and my second marriage. And there's a time like 2008, I was driving around for a few nights. I was going to drive in a transport truck coming the other way. That the world was a better place without me in it, because I was not emotionally stable and I hurt the people around me. So I had taken more time voluntarily to qualify to go to a treatment center, which is the best thing I ever did. And before that, I was closed to mental health help too, and I would call people quacks. But it's the best thing I ever did. And back to kind of what you shared about your parents, like one thing I shared recently was I did the best I could with what abilities and tools I had at the time. I needed to forgive my parents. Yeah, they had the best. They did the best they could with the tools and abilities they had at the time, and they had their own issues too. I blamed them for a long time, and once I started, accepting the help, I learned that suicide's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's a phrase I use for myself. And yeah, we get ourselves in some big pickles, but with help, friends, professional help, we can get through them, we can get past them, and we can thrive again. And in the last 2 years, I find my legs, my voice, and my resolve to speak. Mine's more on the methaquin, the financial and drug the governments gave us back in the day.
Brain damage, don't forget too.
Yeah, I got brain scans where it's measurable brain damage of my base of my brain and along my brain stem. And I'm helping trying to change the stigma around mental health and suicide prevention as well. So I'm glad I'm on the show. You impacted me more than you probably realized, Bruce. And I'm just getting started too. But thank you for doing what you're doing, and especially flying up with the crisis lines. I help people today, and that's something I never thought about doing. But that just shows you want to make sure that it's there for the people when they need it. And so thank you, and it's been a pleasure being on this podcast with you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for sharing your story. And I'm glad you're still here. I never heard that said to anybody until I survived my suicide attempt. And some people will say, I'm glad you're still here, Bruce. And Tim, I'm glad you're still here. And I'm glad I'm still here too, because once you've been to where we've been, you don't want, if you can stop, I feel like the guy that crossed the bridge for 30 or 40 years safely. And that one night, all of a sudden the bridge collapses and my wheels, the back wheels of my car are hanging on the cliff, 400 meters from the abyss. But I managed to climb out of my car. I think any reasonable person who was in that situation would run back up the road if they saw cars coming toward that bridge that was out and wave them off and say, no, you can't go this way. It's not safe this way. I feel like that's what I'm doing. I think that's what you're doing. to make yourself available by being public to say, guys, I've been there.
Exactly.
You can get help. I'm not just preaching BS. Okay. I don't believe in that. No one could have been more negative about mental health treatment or even the existence of God than me. I know me. And I was very dogmatic in my conclusions, but I was wrong. For 73 years of my life, I was dead wrong about both of those men. And I know that veterans can be helped, non-veterans can be helped. Men need to stop keeping this stuff inside their head, thinking, well, I can't tell anybody.
Men don't cry. Men don't cry. That's one of the biggest things I was told as a kid. And
me too. And you gotta talk about it to somebody that you can trust, which is sometimes difficult to do, and somebody that's professionally competent that can give you good feedback. And
exactly.
It's a journey. It's a trial and error thing. But my gosh, I'm so blessed to be alive and to be able to try to be in positions or have opportunities to meet with suicidal people to say, guys, you don't have to suffer anymore. I know how hellish life can be. I lived in it for most of my life. And not everybody recovers the same way. Some of us need more help than others. I'm going to be mentally ill for the rest of my life, but I'm good with that. But with medication and therapy, I'm functioning better than I've ever had. So I'm grateful. I am full of gratitude. And I want other people that suffer in silence, mainly men, a lot of veterans for sure, to have that same experience of gratitude once they recover, because they can. I mean,
so on that note, on the so I had a really hard time when I started my treatment in about 2008, finding anything positive. So my main therapist is like, try to find even one thing small to be grateful for every day. And I journaled that way for quite a while, and then I didn't need to. And I focus on the positives today. And I do have an attitude of gratitude that comes pretty easily. And then when I do have emotional triggers where it's challenging, but now I have a support system in place that I can reach out to, connect to other people where they can help me get through that and back to my normal. And one last thing was like I wore a lot of masks growing up in my teenage years and my military years and post-military years to basically cover up the unconfidence I felt about myself, the worthiness about myself. And now it's like I really want to be authentic. So the crying part, I'm not afraid to show my emotions. I want to be authentic. And it's not always boo-hoo. It's, sometimes just, you care. And so the biggest thing I've chose to develop is being authentic and genuine, even it's at my expense, but that's to help other people realize they're not alone. Like you were saying.
I agree with you 100%, man. And I one thing I know you would agree with, when you're at the bottom of the abyss, you better be 100% authentic when you're talking to somebody who's right there with you. This is the no bullshit zone. I tell people this is real world stuff. Okay, I ain't gonna lie to you. I've been there. I know this is me. Whatever, and you expose yourself, but I agree
I'm not
with
sure
you.
if you can see this or not. This is me. It's the dandelion, which is the symbol for one of the camps I go to.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
just like it's my reminder of.
I got my first tattoo about 9 months. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's a semicolon. On my
I
right
got
hand.
some of those. I got some of those too.
And then the tattoo artist said, "You'll be back." And I said, "I ain't coming back. I'm just going to get this one."
How
But
many do you have now?
I got one more. I got tattooed across my knuckles on my left hand. I'm not finished. And
Nice.
so I have a lot of gratitude, and for as long as I have left on this planet, wherever it is, I want to be available for any other veterans, non-veterans who's at that point of no return. I want that conversation. I want it. That's why I put my number out there. And for the people that are listening, my number in the United States is 859-229-3436, 859-229-3436. My email is Bruce at B as in boy, simpsonlaw.com, Bruce at bsimpsonlaw.com. If you want to email me, you can text me or call me.
So sorry, can you just say your email again? I'm going to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, it's Bruce, BRUCE.
Yep.
At B SIMPSON law LAW.
Sorry, SIM BSIM. Sorry, Bruce at BSMI.
No, Bruce at Simpson, like OJ Simpson.
Sorry.
Sierra India Michael Papa Sierra Oscar November.
That's right.
So sorry, Kyle. There, I got Bruce at Simpson, and then what's the last?
Bruce at B
Simpson.
Bruce at B Simpson. SIMPSON.
Yeah.
Law.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Darren got an injury in the military and it lost his hearing in one of his ears. So,
okay.
But he's an amazing individual. He's one of the people that he created this. He came up with the name for it, right? It's the platform. And I'm really loving this interview today because to hear from Tim, yourself, Bruce, and hear Darren chime in every once in a while. Awesome. This is what this discussion should be like. Darren, you want to jump in, ask Bruce anything, or Tim? Go ahead.
Yeah, I as you know, I wrote 20 questions for Bruce. But I sent them to Lisa on Facebook. I can't access Facebook, and I should have written them down. I've sent them all to you, and I've took the paper away. And as you know, I got them. But we could get Bruce on another time. But have you and Reg have you and Tim got any questions for him?
Actually, I'd like Bruce to cover. I noticed that you went to the. Now I'm going to enunciate this name. Hopefully, I got it right because I have dyslexia. Fayette County Military Suicide Prevention Coalition. You talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Yeah, it's a local organization. Lexington, Kentucky has about 350,000 people.
Wow.
It's in the center of the state. And a new organization started up, Fayette County Military Veterans Suicide Prevention Organization, that they asked me to be to their keynote speaker last year. I was the sponsor of the event this year. And it's designed for suicide prevention for veterans, stuff that the Veterans Administration in the United States, gaps in coverage.
Wow.
We've got veterans killing themselves on the grounds of VA hospitals because they can't get service. And they're making a statement by killing themselves in the parking lot of VA hospitals. Wow. It's a serious problem. And so we're doing our best as volunteers to get the word out, talk about it, have a lot of activities for veterans. Suicide prevention is multifactorial, multidimensional. And so you got to put yourself out there to talk to people in all sorts of settings, fun settings. We, have meals, and particularly for homeless veterans. But just be present. There's not any, you don't have to have any special training. Just be present as a human being. Just care. Show up.
I got one question for you, Bruce.
Yeah.
And this probably goes to anybody that's suffering from suicidal thoughts. So your biggest trigger was when the appeal court overturned the decision of the case and you thought your world was over, and how long did it take you to be gentle on yourself and forgive yourself realizing that you had the blame bleed, brain bleed was affecting your cognitive ability. That's where you forgot to do the brief for the case.
Yeah.
Did it take you very long to forgive yourself about that?
Yeah,
That's
I
a great
did, because
question.
I still thought about that mistake every day for about a year. It was a nightmare that wouldn't go away. I thought I was a whole lot better. Really, about a year, I thought I was cured, if you will, from my mental illness. And the local National Alliance of Mental Illness asked me to head up their fundraiser for a walk they had, suicide prevention walk. And I got my ego all back, my pride. Okay, yeah, I'm cured, and I'll raise a ton of money for you. I'll raise, Mr. Ego, want to get all this recognition. Biggest battle I've got is fighting pride. It gets me in more problems to seeking recognition instead of being humble. It's the biggest battle I got. And I wasn't raising the money, and that director was calling me, and I wasn't calling her back. And I was thinking to myself, this is about a year after my attempted suicide, and I thought I was, like I said, cured. I was doing well. But I started to think to myself, damn, am I going back down that slippery slope again? And I was, honestly, I was going back.
Because you weren't raising the money that you were intending on?
I wasn't meeting the expectations of other people. I was a failure, and I was slipping. I was going back. And the director sent me a text. It said, if you don't answer the phone in 5 minutes, I'm coming over to your house and camping out on your effing doorstep. So, yeah, okay. Well, I called her, and first thing she said, is this about the money? I said, well, yeah, I knew it. I told my husband, she said, about the money. And he's all upset. He's not getting like he thought he was going to raise. And she said, I told you, Bruce, raising money for mental illness is not like raising money for kids or old people or even dogs. It's tough. People just don't give for mental illness. And honestly, I will say this, but for that call that I got from her, that just reassurance, probably saved my life a year later, because I was headed back down. I mean, I know me, and I was headed back down to that I'm a failure, routine, self-punishing, self-sabotaging, piling on myself. You're worthless. After I thought I was quote unquote cured, what I learned from that call is what I've incorporated into every public speaking engagement that I've been afforded the opportunity to share with people. Is I close with, I ask for everybody to get their cell phones out. And I say, I want you to send a text message to yourself. I want you to think about somebody right now that that needs a call. They may be somebody you really don't even like, but everybody knows somebody that's struggling. Everybody does. I said, send a text message yourself to call that person this week, 15 minutes. I said, there's 8,760 minutes in a year. Surely you can afford 15 minutes to make one call and follow up if necessary. Because I believe showing up, making the calls for people that are suicidal, depressed, they're isolated, they're punishing themselves, they feel unworthy. A momentary setback can be,
devastating.
100 meters back from where you were. So as a world, we got to do a better job of looking after one another, but just being present. You don't have to have special training. Just be non-judgmental, listen. And as Tim said several times, which I agree with 100%, be authentic, be real. Don't act like you're some hoity-toity know-it-all. Just be you. I'm concerned about you. Tell me what's going on. I'm genuinely concerned. I really am. So let's talk about it.
And I guess
we don't have many of those conversations. We have a lot
Another
of
part.
superficial BS conversations.
That's what I love about this show is we're having a conversation. And that's why we need to get other veterans, supporters, family members on, and even first responders. I got some exciting news to share with you later, Darren. Someone from Victoria, Vancouver Island, where I grew up, they reached out to me. They're the first responder. You know, they want to come on and share their story. So this is what the platform is. Please go ahead, Bruce.
I mean,
I just want to type on what Bruce was saying. So the expectation you use the money and that person trying to call and trying to get a hold of you, and you weren't feeling you were doing your expectations of what you're supposed to do. That could cause a barrier. And what I'm encouraging the viewers to do is when you're struggling with something like that yourself, talk to somebody to help you get through that. Is we assume a lot, and we often assume wrong, like you did. Like he reassured you it was okay. You know, it's not as easy to raise money for that kind of topic compared to what others are, and we set ourselves up for failure often that way. And it's just something I want to it's something small, but when you're in the moment, it's huge, and you don't see it as something that you can overcome.
No, you can't, because you're very vulnerable, and people that haven't experienced serious clinical depression, it's not like everybody gets sad. Okay, there's moments of sadness, but when honestly, I attempted suicide once before. I came home from a casino. I lost a bunch of money. I'd been drinking. I left the car running in my garage and kept the garage door down. I was just going to kill myself with carbon monoxide poisoning. But my wife came down, and she didn't know I was trying to kill myself. She just thought I was drunk and jumped all over me for, number one, being drunk, driving, and letting the car run in the garage. She never knew I tried to kill myself. But there would be many times in my life. I remember one time 25 years ago, my wife and I were taking a trip to Scandinavia. It was going to be a great trip. And about halfway across the Atlantic Ocean, the thought occurred to me, did I miss the statute of limitations in a wrongful death case that I had? It turned out that I hadn't missed it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm a warrior, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was, what I did to compensate for I'd get major headaches, and I would pop 10, 12, 14 Excedrin aspirin a day. And then sometimes I'd go to IC or emergency room for a bleeding stomach, because I'd overdose on aspirin. And I was going to ruin the trip, and the only way that I could cope that 2 weeks in Europe was every time, which as soon as you don't want to think about something, you think about it. I would think about it 20 times a day. It would just pop up. We'd be like going through a castle in Copenhagen, or at a pub in Copenhagen, which I prefer to do. And I'd just pop in my head that you missed the statute of limitations. And the only way I could cope was tell myself, look, if you miss the statute when you get back, you just kill yourself. It's over. Okay. You've been planning this about 10 years at that point. I said, just kill yourself. It'll be done, but enjoy the last 2 weeks of your life. Don't ruin it for Cindy. Let's just make a judgment. This is the last 2 weeks of your life. So you got it. Let's enjoy it as much as you can. And I'd have little short phrases, because like I said, my cases would be covered in the newspaper, and I could see a little thing in the paper would say Bruce Simpson dead at 53. I was 53 years old. That's 23 years ago when this happened. Bruce Simpson dead at 53. That was my quick response to getting that thought that I'd malpracticed and my life was over thought out of my brain. That's a hell of a tortured way to live. And all I can tell you for my fellow veterans out there and non-veterans, don't repeat my mistakes. Don't go through this faux macho routine BS and not seek mental health treatment. You're wasting your life and you're wasting opportunities for joy and to eliminate a whole lot of unnecessary misery. I know what misery is like. And what it comes down to, I didn't do anything about it. So to the extent anyone pays attention to a 76-year-old guy from United States, learn from my mistakes. Don't suffer in silence. Go talk to somebody that's competent. Get treatment. I'm telling you, I never believed I could be helped. I suffered unnecessarily for most of my life. Don't repeat my mistakes. That's just a fact.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just saying, man was like, I agree. I'm in that club too.
Yeah,
But
yeah, same here.
I guess one part is that I had to learn was, positive self-talk. I've had so much negative talk through my childhood, through, a lot of different things. And some of it, was warranted, but a lot of it was not warranted. But we got choices to make. And the biggest thing that I try to bring forward to people is you can choose how you feel. And sometimes that ask an expert, professional for help, getting on medication, peer support, and positive self-talk. And that was really hard for me. And I still struggle with that on occasion. But that's been the attitude of gratitude I really strive to achieve. And it's very easy to find things to be grateful for today. But in the beginning, it was really hard for me because the way I was, my mind was warped, and I had a lot of negative self-talk. I didn't like myself. And there's lots of people like us out there, and just talking like this, it's been encouraging me, Bruce, to feel that, just in this between me and you. And thanks for Darren, Reg, for facilitating this and asked me to join you because
Glad
You
you
got an
did.
amazing story, Tim.
this was good. And
Fellow brother.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and we'll be staying in touch, Bruce. Just
Good.
Yeah, we're definitely going to bring you back on, Bruce, and we're hoping to get either
100%.
Adam or David at that time. I'd really love to hear them do an interview with you and then them to talk from their standpoint. Adam's a first responder, isn't he?
Yeah, Adam's a first responder. So he's Adam Scarborough. He's ex-REME engineers.
Okay.
He works with a lot of member of parliament. He does wonders for us. We're really lucky to have him on board. And David Miles, he does timeline therapy. He's got over 20 years experience, and he's incredible, absolutely incredible. One of the best in the UK, and he's helping us out. And it's absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Reg, I'm happy for you to let you carry this on if there's more to chat about, but I've got to help put the kids to bed.
I was going to basically hand it back over to you because for the poem tonight, I was going to, I wanted to share one poem.
I was just going to say that,
yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to they gave me the nickname of the professor. So we're now going to the professor's corner, right? And it's called, just a second here, I'm going to grab a quick drink of liquid. Okay, I just ended up wearing much of it. It's called Human Storm. I am a human storm raging across the sky, the one who battles against scary things that lurk in the darkness of the night. I shout into the darkness as long as there is one man or woman with strong, pure heart who desires to be free. You will never win against us. Through my tears, I see the darkness fleeing as tremendous warrior cries of freedom is heard, thundering all around me. Turning around, I see Lady Liberty has stepped down from her perch, alone in the harbor, and stood in front of many of us as an image of justice, liberty, and honor. I watched my comrades around me as they appear and disappear through the haze of gunpowder, a place that now only exists in a few people's minds, where I hear some of my brothers and sisters in arms screaming out for their mothers and fathers as one comrade dying after another. I refuse to heed the words of darkness as I've been bathed in the fiery trials of watching nearly every worldly possession stolen from me. The darkness cannot take my spirit or my heart from me as I hold the power in my hands, my voice and my willingness to never let my colors touch the ground. I have the strength to shape my own destiny, despite the human demons trying to hinder me. Each thunderbolt became like my action, smashing into the ground as I stand tall, looking directly in the eyes of the devil and his demons. Every time I warn the devil and his demons to back off. Defiant in my stance for what is right and true, I see others joining me. United, we stand strong, willing to challenge the darkness and champion what is right with relentless determination. Together, we pave the way for a brighter future by working together as brothers and sisters. Gently, Lady Liberty's words caress the air as we stand together, serving and protecting the people, flags, and nations of the free world.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Your poems just get better and better. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Bruce, just to let you know, you're on mute. Guys, this is the Late Night Veteran Show, episode 83. I always give people last words if they want to say anything. Tim, before we go, do you have any last words before we end the show?
No, just I guess just for people watching, there's lots of hope out there. And suicidal thoughts, just leave it. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The problems that we all face, we can get through with help.
Thank you.
That's the biggest thing I want to leave.
Thank you so much, Tim. Always a pleasure to have you on. Bruce, any last words before we end the show? Thank you so much for coming on. It's your first time on the show, and we would love to invite you back at some stage.
I appreciate it, Darren. I just follow up on that wonderful poem. Coming from an agnostic/atheist, as much as mental health treatment has helped me, my growing relationship with the Lord has been more instrumental in my recovery than anything. It's a daily task. It's nothing like that I imagined. I still have absolutely no respect for prosperity preachers and a lot of con artists. And I think the Lord gave each of us the power of discernment to separate fact from fiction. The person that's been really key for my recovery, he passed away a couple of years ago. He came to the UK a lot. The late Dr. Tim Keller preached to the atheists and agnostics in New York City. He did a lot of lectures in the UK. Tim Keller, Keller. He's written a whole lot of books. The United.
I got some of his books.
He is a great asset for me and coming closer to the Lord, and I'm grateful. I still shake my head in bewilderment because I can see the old Bruce Simpson from 3 years ago sitting over here in this corner looking at me like, bro, what in the world has got into you talking like that? But I know what's real. This is my truth. All right. And everybody's got to find it for themselves. It takes effort. It's a daily effort for me. But the one thing I've learned, I think about myself less and I think about other people more. He wrote a book called The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness, Tim Keller did, which has been critical for my recovery. I think about myself less. I think about other people more, and I'm a whole lot better for doing it that way.
And helping others helps us.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great show today, too. I wanted to quickly just add, as I always say, I have that saying I say all the time, be the positive change you want to see in this world. You know, Darren, I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to be part of the team. It's truly humbling and a tremendous honor to hear stories from Tim and Bruce and so many other people. And that's what I love about this program. And I'm looking forward to future broadcasts too.
Thank you so much. But you've got to take credit as well, Reg. You've been a great asset. You've got really good people on the show. The show's expanding. We've gone worldwide. We're one of the fastest growing shows in the UK at the minute. We're not the biggest show in the UK, as for a veteran show, but we're the fastest growing. We'll be going 2 years, and it's just we've been approved by the Armed Forces Covenant, which is the British Army. After 1 year, that's unheard of. Usually,
don't forget that partnership with the Veterans World Magazine.
I was just gonna do that. If you look here, I was just gonna put them up on the screen.
Yeah.
We are now in partnership with the Veterans World Magazine. So, guys, look over to them. It's www.veteransworldmagazine.com. The owner is Bob Maxwell. He's been on the show, so I believe he's coming back on as well, guys.
Yeah, sometime in the future.
We have just been in the latest Veterans World Magazine, so please take a look at that on their website. And also, we're having a free giveaway as well, guys. So I'm just going to pop this up on the screen when it pops up. So we're going to win a free T-shirt. All you've got to do is like, share, follow. That's all you've got to do, guys, and comment in the comments. I know Tim's bought a lot of merchandise off us. That's on his way in the post.
Hopefully, next episode I get to wear, I'll be wearing it.
Absolutely, and we look forward to it. Also, the American guys have got their kit, the UK guys have got their kit, and this month, Canada will have their kit. I'm sorry that because there's 3 of you guys in Canada, but as you know, we don't get much funding, guys. I spent a lot out of my own pocket, but it's absolutely fine. We do this for a good cause.
Could I
last word?
Talk about the next podcast next Sunday? Can I talk about that briefly?
Absolutely, of course you can. Yeah.
Wow.
So the last time I was on, I was talking about the drug methaquin, which is also known as Lariam. It's an anti-malaria drug that a lot of governments gave our troops that have since banned it or called it a drug of last resort, which causes brain injuries in a high percentage of the people that took it, and it's still given out to civilians. So next Sunday, I'm going to have Marge Matchy and Dave Bona. They're one of the biggest proponents, advocate in the methaquin world in Canada. So I'll be doing a podcast with them and Reg and Darren next Sunday. And then July 31st, it'd be me and Dave Bona, and he'll be the main guy talking about the symptoms about methaquin / Lariam.
High cost. It's going to cost our healthcare too.
And
hundreds
then
of billions of dollars we're going to be heading towards cost.
And then how we can deal with them, manage them better, considering the government wants to deny and block it all.
Wow.
So that's the 19th and the 31st of July.
Thank you so much for that update, guys. If you want to look at the first show that Tim was on, I think it was episode. Can you remember the episode? I think it was episode 79.
79.
Yeah,
I think.
Let's take a look at episode 79, guys.
Yeah, Mike Root and Tim came on. It was interesting. I loved it. I loved the updates you've been sending to Tim. I noticed that we're getting close to 6:30, so we only got about 2 more minutes left. Bruce, do you want to leave any last words? Get about 30 seconds, just quick blurb if you like.
Well, you talk about pressure. Guys, really, I'm grateful that you invited me on. This has been a real blessing for me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and same for us.
To meet you guys and connect with you. This really, Darren and Reg, what you guys are doing, and Tim with your podcast that I heard you mention, this is so much needed, and we got a lot of catching up to do. And I know it's you're coming out of your own pocket with this stuff, all your leisure time, trying to reach people. And I tell you, you're doing God's work. There's no question about it. And I'm grateful, and I thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Bruce. Go ahead, Darren, if you want to. Tim, do you get 30 seconds, Tim?
Pleasure to meet you, Bruce. We'll stay in contact for sure. You blessed me. And,
Do
Been
you know
honored
one of the
to be
things?
on here again with Reg and Darren too.
Do you know what I love about this show is we get people on, multiple people come on, and then it's a connection, and it just the brotherhood expands and expands, and it's just amazing. And I love that sort of stuff, and that we're all here to support each other. As you know, the message tonight is you're not alone, guys. You've heard Bruce's story, you've heard Tim's story before, Reg's story, my story. You're not alone. Don't be afraid. I think Tim mentioned earlier that he was brought up, same as me, to say men don't cry. It's okay to cry. Let it out. Don't hold that trauma inside. It's okay to cry. And listen, I'll cry with you if it helps. Guys, this is the episode 83 of the Late Night Veterans Show. Thank you so much, Bruce, for coming on. Tim, Reg, as always, you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Yeah.
Just trying to do the... Just bear with us, guys. I started this last night.